So I'm Tor Garnett. I'm a detective superintendent in the Met Police, and I joined the police in 2008. I had just finished before that a degree at Cambridge in natural sciences, but I knew from a much younger age actually that I wanted to be a police officer. When I was a teenager, about 14, I've always been interested in what's going on and was always the one who would be looking out the window of the car when blue lights went by. And I wanted to do something that was a public service. I thought about medicine, I thought about teaching, but I wanted to explore policing. What I tried to do was try and get work experience, and that's actually often was then quite difficult to do because of the safety things and all of that. So I managed in the end to get a day's work experience or 2 days work experience in the Holloway Road police station, as it was at the time, in their traffic records where they were filing traffic misdemeanors of police officers, which was a fascinating day of filing, but not really that reflective of what the day job was going to be. And I also was able to work shadow a senior officer for a day, and she was phenomenal. And in that day, I just thought, wow, I want to be like you. And, this is amazing that you have all of these incredible behaviors and all these skills, and you're just so effective and you're doing something so important. So those are the sorts of reasons why I wanted to join. And then also I started to tell people that I wanted to do it, and it's a really exciting job. And so people kept saying, oh gosh, and then so you keep saying it in order to get that reaction. And then I was 21 and had to then sign up because I'd been saying it for 6 years that I would, and I was frightened, I guess. I didn't know anyone in the police at all. None of my family are in the police, so I didn't really know what it would entail, but I thought I'd give it a good shot. And in the beginning I thought maybe I'd do 2 years, and then if it wasn't for me I might go and do something else. But I remember training at Hendon and then at Tower Hamlets, and I had really great trainers. And then I joined Hackney on 999 calls, and it was phenomenal. The most exciting, high adrenaline, tough, challenging, human 2 years of that I'd ever had, really. And I suppose I'd come from a pretty privileged background. I didn't have any concept of the level of deprivation that was going on in some people's lives. And you saw people at their very best, and you saw them at their very worst. I was hugely lucky with the team that I had, and I think actually lots of people have that experience. Police officers are really good fun, and they were just extraordinary people doing extraordinary things. So that was sort of how I joined, and why I thought it would be a great job to do. And that was really proven to me in that first 2 years, and it made me definitely want to stay. Absolutely got the bug. It is a privilege to be able to intervene in people's lives when they are going through some of the toughest times, whether that be a road traffic accident or somebody in their family who's died, or their home violated by a burglar, or that shock because their mobile phone's been stolen. What you do in those moments, and you can't always solve those problems or make it better in the entirety, but you can always do something, and people remember and tell tens of other people about that experience. And that's a real privilege, to intervene and to be able to kind of contribute and serve, I guess, in that way. So after that first 2 years as a probationer, I then trained to be a detective, continued to work in Hackney, then worked in Lambeth, worked in the some specialist crime unit, moved then to Waltham Forest. So I've done various different jobs in the last 10 years, most recently being a senior investigating officer in specialist crime, which has been possibly one of the toughest moments for me. Really, really tough job, but fabulous. And I suppose that brings one on to kind of what I enjoy about it and what's challenging. And it's sort of the same thing, because I really enjoy it because it's so challenging, because it's not really the easy problems that one is ending up dealing with. One's dealing with things where people's are having a tough time, or you're trying to manage the resources, with what that individual victim or member of the public needs, with what's going on in the wider week for people. So I love the variety of it. I love the pace, because even though, yes, of course, we talk about lots of things that lots of people in big businesses talk about, there's always a fundamental back to, how do we keep people safe? How do we serve our community? And I really love that. I'm pretty action orientated, and I like working at pace, and I like really seeing results of what one does, and I like having the opportunities to get it better and better and better all the time. And that's what one has, because there's call after moment after investigation after contacts that you can have all the time, and you can make that difference. So that really inspires me, and it's also what's really challenging, because I definitely can think of things that I've seen or situations that I've dealt with where it breaks my heart, and it's not okay to not feel those things, because then you lose your humanity. So I think really processing some of the emotion behind what you deal with is critical, and can be challenging, because of course everyone just wants to move on, and we've all got home lives and things, but actually it's important to really feel the things that come up for you when you go to tough stuff, or you see people in really tough situations. Otherwise you start to numb, or you start to blame, and I think that can be challenging. But it's also one of the biggest transferable skills. Is I think the resilience of police officers is extraordinary, and that the grit, the being able to pick yourself back up, the being able to process the dark stuff as well as the light stuff, is what makes you very capable in the workplace in many, many different professions. I'm at the moment on a business secondment for 6 months out into industry. Totally fascinating. Different motivations, different pressures, but absolutely the same skills, whether you're working in the private sector, the public sector, or the third sector. And I feel like the 10 years in the police have stood me in really good stead in terms of my leadership and my resilience skills, hopefully for another 10. So my advice and tips to people thinking of joining the police is do it. It is the most fantastic job. It is just the best decision I ever made, and it doesn't mean that there aren't going to be hard bits, but of course one's aware of that. I think as well, think through what your expectations are. Try and understand as much information as you can about it, and what it would look like, and how that would fit in with your life. Really check in with your vocation and your motivation, because yes, there is some racing about in fast cars, but far more than that, it is connecting with people in tough moments, and it's being passionate about making a difference to support them. And if you have that fire, then it will sustain you right the way through a policing career.